Welcome to my channel where I say there are only two types of Republicans, the selfish and the stupid. Fuck your feelings. Today I'm going to answer some questions that will put to Donald Trump and critique his answers. Let's hear what he has to say.
Sure, ma'am, please.
Hi.
Hi.
My husband is up there. We are Iowa farmers and also small business owners. So I would like to know what you're going to do for small businesses.
It seems so ironic to me that a small business owner is asking a billionaire what he would do to help small businesses. If he had his chance, he would take every customer you had and all the money you had. Don't fool yourself.
Well, we are the biggest thing, bigger than the tax cuts, which were the biggest ever.
He says this about everything. Everything he does, according to him, is the biggest thing ever done.
Is we cut regulations. And we cut regulations for small business, the likes of which you had businesses that couldn't survive. It was just impossible for them to survive. We cut regulations more than any administration in the history of our country ×4.
I don't know where he gets this shit, where he's cut more regulations than all the other presidents ×4. He just makes up these numbers off the top of his head. The biggest threat facing small business owners is not regulations. It's big corporations trying to take all of their customers. I don't know what regulations he's talking about cutting, but we need to have some regulations. Now, there might be some regulations that don't make any sense. Sure, I'm okay with cutting those. Something we could do to help small businesses is have universal health care. That may not make any sense to you at first until you understand it. It's really hard for small business owners to find good employees because the good employees are more likely to go to large corporations who provide better incentive plans like health care coverage. The large corporations get discounts from the health insurance companies because they provide so many customers. So having universal health care would even up the odds for the small business owners. Now, I think my plan to legalize drugs, tax them, and use the funds from the taxes to create a universal basic income system would also help all business owners, because then there'd be more people in the middle class, more people would have more money to spend at small businesses. And hell, maybe your small business could start selling drugs to drug users. That would bring in some extra profits for you.
Question? Yeah, please. Somebody over there?
Sure.
Yes.
I'd like to know how you can help us in Iowa save our farmland from the CO2 pipeline.
Yeah. Well, you know we're working on that, and you know we had a plan to totally, it's such a ridiculous situation, isn't it? But we had a plan, and we would have instituted that plan, and it was all ready. But we will get it back. If we win, that's going to be taken care of. That would be one of the easy things we do.
Wow, great job avoiding the question, Donald. What is this plan you're talking about? I would like to know. I'm going to be honest with you. Before I heard this question, I didn't even know about the problem with the CO2 pipeline because I've been getting disgusted and just not watching the news. I don't know what to do about this problem, but at least I'm going to be honest about it. Unlike Donald, who's just pretending like he has this plan that he doesn't really have. I'm not going to pretend like I have all the answers like Donald Trump does. But if I was president, I would get all the experts I could together and the Iowa farmers and listen to everybody and try to figure out the best way to help the Iowa farmers while combating climate change.
Hello.
President Trump just back from Yuma, Arizona.
Good.
They love your wall.
Yeah.
One problem, it's not finished.
Yeah.
And the fentanyl is creeping into our country. What would you do?
Only one problem? I can think of a second problem. Trump failed to get Mexico to pay for the wall like he promised. It amazes me how Trump supporters act like that just didn't happen.
I always said build a wall. They said don't build it. I had some problems even with a couple of rhinos in the Republican Party, as you know. And I ended up saying, look, here's the story. I'm taking it from the military. And I said, because I view it as national defense. This is an invasion. And I built hundreds of miles of wall and had everything completed. When everything was completed, we noticed that people were pouring into other areas.
Well, of course, people are going to pick the easiest way to get into the country. If that's going around the wall, that's what they're going to do. And the wall would be an obstacle, but it's not like it would stop them.
Room showing a man breaching a new section of the border fence down by San Diego. He climbed up a rope ladder on the Mexico side while two other men held on to it. And then he just slid down on the U.S. side like he was on a fire pole.
So we were all set. The wall was bought. The wall was ready to be put up, would have been done in a period of 3 weeks.
Yes, the wall was bought by the American taxpayers, not Mexico like he promised. And I don't know where you got 3 weeks. Building a 2,500-mile wall in 3 weeks doesn't sound realistic to me. Maybe you should have made sure you could, finish the wall before you started on it.
And that's when we realized these people actually believe in open borders. They refuse to put up the wall.
I know there's some liberals out there who do believe in open borders. I actually sympathize with them. I care about the people who want to come into our country too. But I personally think we should secure our borders. I feel bad about it. I feel bad about turning people away. I think we need to do it in the most humane way possible. Instead of investing in a wall that people are just going to use rope ladders to go over or cut through it, or next they'll be using shovels to dig under it, it would make more sense to me to invest in drones to help border agents to patrol the area. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. In the question, the lady mentioned that fentanyl is pouring over the border, which I'm sure is true. This is a very serious problem, and I got an easy solution to that. Legalize drugs like cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine. When people are taking these drugs, they don't know that it has fentanyl in it because the drug dealers are not telling them. People are going to do drugs. We can't stop them. We've tried when we have failed. It's time to give up. This lady, I'm sure, doesn't care if drug dealer or drug addicts die. So why is she trying to stop fentanyl from coming into our country?
You know that because Arizona was one of the places. But we will get that finished. But more importantly, we had great deals with Mexico, stay in Mexico. People weren't coming in. We had it, that last period of time between the wall, I got 28,000 Mexican soldiers guarding our territory.
Time for me to be honest about my ignorance again. I didn't even know about these 28,000 soldiers that Donald Trump got Mexico to put up to secure the border. From what I can tell, it seems to be true, but I have a lot of trouble believing that these soldiers put a lot of effort into stopping people from crossing our borders. And I don't know how we can be sure that they actually put 28,000 exactly on it.
People are pouring in through your country, and they're destroying our country.
A lot of the Mexicans that are coming into our country are the ones who are picking our fruits and vegetables, which is necessary for us to eat. So they're not all destroying our country. They are a vital part of our community.
And you don't care about it, but I care about it. Said, here's the story. You're going to give it to us, right? No, I'm not. I said, yes, you are, and here's why you're going to. Because on Monday morning at 9 o'clock, I'm putting a 25% tariff and tax on all of your goods, including all the car industry that you took away over the last 30 years from the United States. 32% of our car manufacturing is in Mexico.
I got news for anyone who's stupid enough to believe that Mexico took the jobs. They didn't. The rich people in this country gladly sent those jobs down there because they could pay Mexicans a lot less than what they pay anyone in the U.S. And while you're busy using the threat of tariffs as leverage to get the 28,000 troops, why don't you try to get Mexico to pay for the fucking wall like you promised?
Because we had stupid leaders that allowed it to go. And they send in cars with no tax, no nothing. I said, starting Monday morning at 9 o'clock, we're going to put a 25% tariff on every single car that comes into our country and every other product made in Mexico that comes into our country. And you will pay that tariff. And that is far more money for us than the cost of 28,000 soldiers.
If Trump had followed through on this threat about tariffs, Mexico would not be the only ones paying for it. The U.S. consumers would also be paying for it because higher tariffs would mean higher prices on the cars.
And I always say it, no third world country that used sticks and stones to stop them would allow what's happening to our country to happen to them.
It's incredibly stupid to compare the problems that we have securing our southern border with any of the other countries because our border is 2,500 miles long. We have the longest border in the world.
Millions of people are pouring across the border, and we have no idea who they are. But I do know this. They are terrorists, they are from prisons, and they are from mental institutions.
They are also the people who are picking our fruits and vegetables. They're the people who are working on construction sites. And anyone who has openly said that he would date his daughter if she wasn't his daughter should not be going around calling anybody else crazy. The guy who yelled this out made a very good point. Donald Trump just said, he was putting down all the immigrants, but a lot of them are just children.
You have to see New York. You have to see our cities. They're pouring in. They're putting up tents in Central Park.
When I look at a lot of the homeless camps that I've seen as a truck driver, I don't see a lot of Mexicans. In fact, I don't even remember seeing one Mexican. It's mostly Americans, and most of whom seem to suffer from mental illness.
What's happened to our country is so horrible. San Francisco is one of our greatest cities. You have to see San Francisco today. But Chicago, look at Chicago. Look at what's happening to our country. These people are either very evil.
Yeah, the people who want to welcome the Mexicans into our country because they have suffered so much, they are very evil.
Or it's the one thing that nobody can explain.
Well, I can explain it. It's because a lot of people do care about the suffering of the Mexicans in their country. They have to suffer the violence from the drug cartels. They don't have good jobs. They can't get enough money to feed their families. So they come over here in hopes of a better life.
Is why they do it. Why? Why do they do it? Look, they are people that try and defend what's happening. They fight you all the way. They want to put you in prison if you even question them.
I can't believe anyone is stupid enough to believe that. Nobody wants to put Trump in prison because he's asking uncomfortable questions that they don't like. They want to put him in prison because he took classified documents out of the White House, because he falsified business records that were, payments to Stormy Daniels. And I want to see him go to prison because he openly bragged about sexually assaulting women and got caught doing it. We have women who claim they were sexually assaulted by Donald Trump. And when he owned the Miss Teen USA pageant, he used to walk in on teenagers, the contestants, while they were changing clothes. I think that's sick, and he deserves to be in prison for it. But because he owned the pageant and he's rich, he didn't go to prison.
Our country is being ruined. Our country is being destroyed by probably very sick, very evil people. Nobody can understand who would want to have a border where the whole world is allowed to pour in.
The reason you can't understand this is because you're a narcissist who's incapable of having compassion for your fellow human beings. Now, I think we should secure our southern border. But I do understand the position of people who do want to let the whole world pour in.
And then they announced that we will give you, if you come to America, free education, free hospitals, free this, free this. We don't have any room. We don't have anything. It's impossible. Everybody has a heart. We want to take care of everybody.
You just said everybody has a heart after you just got through saying you don't understand why people want to let the Mexicans come into our country. God, you're just a fucking stupid liar.
But the whole world is coming into our country. It's not sustainable.
Now, on this point, I think you might be right. I'm not sure it's sustainable, which is why I support securing the southern border. But I want to do it in the most humane way possible.
Our country is a mess. We will turn our country around. We will make America great again.